Where does your elbow aim? So what part, so if I'm aiming my elbow back, that's going to hit about that point in my back.
What's up? 筋肉翻訳です。さあ今日は胸、背中、成長しない人が忘れがちな大事なトレーニング見ていきましょう。トレーニングには様々な刺激が大事です。そして筋肉は刺激されたように成長します。どこかが育たないのであれば、その部位に対しての刺激がうまく入っていないということになります。今回はなぜできていないかについて、ベンさんがわかりやすく説明してくれています。自分のトレーニングを見直しながら見てみてください。どうぞ。
What's up, ladies and gents? Ben Pekulski coming at you. A very, very deep insight into how to train your chest and how to train your back. Most people don't have a clue where to start, a clue where to end, but I want to give you guys a really, really easy way to understand the application of chest and back training. The reason I put them together is because it's actually a very, very similar application. So when you're training your chest, let's start with chest. Most people are going to do a flat bench press. Most people are going to do an incline bench press, which is essentially this plane, and it's this plane. That's awesome. But one thing I want you to recognize is your chest actually has the ability to contract muscle here, 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 and here, and everywhere along this continuum. So if you're only working in two different planes, or for a lot of people it's one plane, because incline often ends up looking like flat because you end up doing this. Really pay attention to the angles that you're executing. So really, really important to keep your core stable. This is one thing I teach in my program, MI40. The reason you lock down your spine and you lock down your core is because you want to prevent any type of movement at your spine. A lot of people get a lot of hyperlordosis at their spine, so hyperextension. And what that's going to do is literally just change the plane you're working in. So if I'm trying to do an incline, so this is where I would start. If I'm trying to do an incline, I do this. All of a sudden that looks a lot more like flat now, doesn't it? As opposed to where my arm kind of started, I brought my chest up, and it ends up looking more like a flat press. So you end up neglecting all these muscle fibers at the top. You go, oh, you saw these people, I hear people saying all the time, oh, my upper chest is weak. Of course it is, because you've probably never done an incline press in your life. It's probably just some type of variation of a flat press. So the suggestion then is, don't be afraid to go up to what people would call a shoulder angle here and here when you're doing chest presses, because yes, it is primarily going to work your front delt, but it is going to work those fibers of the upper chest that maybe the clavicular fibers that may otherwise not be hit. So when I train chest, I literally will start at a flat. Let's say we do dumbbells. I'll start at a flat, I'll do here, then I'll incline a little bit, so I'll go to 30 degrees, then I'll go to 45 degrees, then I'll go to 60, then I'll go all the way to 90, and I'll actually stay vertical. So now the difference between how I do 90 and how most people do 90 is they'll get to 90 degrees, they'll do this. So that's more like 70. So, but instead I actually try to keep my abs engaged and maintain a position of shoulder flexion, and I'm going here, which is a really hard position to maintain, and you'll find you end up using really, really light weights. So there's a consideration when training your chest. Literally every degree along this continuum is important as far as where you're going to press. How does that relate to back? It's the exact same principle. Okay, so now how does this relate to back? Because it's the exact same principle. You see people that train back will always do a row and always do a pull down. And the pull down usually looks something like this. So they're really, really arched through their lumbar spine particularly, not usually through their thoracic spine. Usually the lumbar spine, which is like down here, so your lower back is really arched. That's not optimal. I mean, it's not wrong, but understand optimal. So optimal is this. Optimal is every single plane. So I want to train my back in this plane. I want to train my back in this plane, 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 and every single plane along this continuum. Because if I want to hit every single muscle fiber, some muscle fibers, of course, are going to overlap. But at some point, you want to hit every muscle fiber in your back, so you need to work from every different angle. So the suggestion is start at a position where you're weakest, and I can guarantee all of you are weakest in this position. So because nobody ever goes to this position, even when you do a pull down, it's this. So you're about a position of 70 degrees of extension. So if we want to get 90 degrees of extension, the abs are tight, and I'm trying to really push back here. So I'm trying to get here and I row there. You'll notice that the stimulus is completely different. It's a lot harder. Now one thing you guys want to be aware of, a lot of people don't have the ability to get this type of shoulder flexion. So if you don't have the ability to do it because of some type of range limitation, then don't go there. But ideally, if you're healthy and you're athletic, you should be able to get to that position and stimulate your back. So if you want optimum stimulation of your back muscles, you need to make sure you're hitting every point along this continuum. So it's okay to lean back on a pull down, but just make sure you're hitting this point as well. And then lean back, and then maybe we do one here, 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 and here, all the way down. So you may get a total of 6 to 7 exercises within a workout or even within a given week. Do we want to do more on a certain plane? I don't see any reason why. I think logically, I mean, you want to do all the planes in about the same proportion. You want to have a thick back throughout, unless you want, you find your traps are really weak or you want to isolate your traps, in which case you would do this angle. And a good way to know what part of your back it's hitting is really simple. Where does your elbow aim? So if I'm aiming my elbow back, that's going to hit about that point in my back. If I'm aiming down, it's going to hit my lower lat. If I'm going to hit here, it's going to hit really low. If I'm going to be rowing this way, it's going to be hitting up here in my trap. So where does my elbow actually aim during that workout is probably a good way to understand where that exercise is going to be targeting. So hopefully you guys understand some simple logic behind how to train chest and how to train back along its entire continuum and stimulate all the muscle fibers for optimum growth. Ben Pakulski out.
さあ、いかがでしたでしょうか？実際にトレーニングをしたい面でトレーニングができていないということでした。いくら椅子の角度をつけても実際体に入る角度はどうなっているのか、これが大事ということですね。背中では肘が入る角度で効いている場所がわかるとのことでしたが、胸も同じですね。どの位置に肘が来ているか、この時の前腕の向きが向かっている角度で刺激が入っているということになります。みんなは思い通りの角度をつけられていますか？コメント欄で教えてください。僕はインクラインプレスをするときは基本的に45度か60度ぐらい角度をつけて行うようにしています。最後まで見ていただいてありがとうございます。感想や動画のリクエスト、チャンネル登録お待ちしています。ではまた。I won't look back when you're around. I won't think twice when you're gone. Don't hesitate to call me back. 'Cause you're